but sometimes we're down early and come in that couple of days and then he checks us. Fresh from the
Good.
That sounds delicious.
It's fun.
I love lobster.
I still got them in my freezer. I never even eat them when I bring them home. Jeremy, you set? Okay. I'd like to welcome everybody. This is the Painesville Township Board of Zoning Appeals. I'm going to call this meeting to order. It's our tradition that we stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance before each meeting, so if you'd like to join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, at this time, I'm going to ask our legal counsel to explain why he needs to swear witnesses, and he'll ask anybody that's going to testify today and then swear you for the record, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everybody. Just to let you know, this is a semi-judicial proceeding. Any decisions that are made here tonight may be appealed to the Court of Common Pleas. And if it is appealed to the Court of Common Pleas, the only thing that they use to make a decision is the record that is created here tonight. And because of that, we can make sure that we have a good, clean record. And for that reason, I will be swearing in any witnesses tonight that will be testifying for or against either of the cases that we have here tonight. So if you'll be speaking on behalf of any of these changes, I need you to swear in. Or if you're going to be speaking against any of them, I'll need you to swear in now, and then you'll remain sworn in when you get to your portion. So with that, I would ask anybody who will be testifying for or against tonight to please stand and raise your right hand. Okay. And I'm just going to ask you to answer one question, and that is, do you swear that any testimony that you give tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes. Okay, thanks very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Let the record show the three people there were three people that were sworn. Okay. All right, so Rachel, if you would read case 2022-0017 BZA, please.
Applicant, Pro-Built Homes Incorporated, submitted a variance application for property located at Park Road. The request is to allow construction of a 1,301 square feet single-family dwelling in violation of section 14.03A1, which requires that no dwelling in the R1 district shall be constructed having less than 1,500 square feet of finished living space.
Okay, thank you. I find no error in our zoning inspector requiring a variance for this. And for all the board members, just so you know, you've been given a number of pages here showing residences on Park Road with square footages. So is there anyone to speak in favor of this application? Yes, sir. If you'd step forward and identify yourself.
I'm Bob Myers with Pro-Built Homes. Again, like the sheet before us is self-explanatory. We're just doing this for our customer. He removed it on a slab. We looked into trying to enlarge the house to the 1,500 square feet. It's just not in his price range with the way that prices are currently. So that's why we're before the board on his behalf to try to see if we can build the house that's on that last page there. Is the rendering.
Okay. Is that it?
That's it.
Anyone else to speak in favor of the request? Anyone to speak against the request? Yes, sir.
All right. Good afternoon, Steve Reiniger. I live right next to that property. I have a couple concerns. One, it's a very small lot, very close. And then a 1,500 square foot house is not going to, I don't see how it's going to help the value of my house for my resale by any means. So I'm quite concerned with that. And then a smaller home and upkeep and all them good items. So that's what I'm concerned with.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else to speak against the request? Just any questions from the board of either the applicant or the person against it? Just so everybody in the audience knows, we have a number of homes here that are in that neighborhood on, I guess they're similar sized lots, Harley?
I wouldn't say that they're similar sized lots. The lot sizes vary pretty significantly on Park Road. There isn't really any uniformity there.
Okay. Just so everybody in the audience knows, there are quite a few of them here that are under the 1,500 square feet. One of the things that our board is taxed to look at in a variance request is, will this substantially change the neighborhood in which the variance is being requested? We have similar thing in another area of our township where there's a lot of homes that are there and under the required square footage. So any other questions from the board? I'm trying to see how many homes, we have a map here of where they are and what the square footage is. One, two, three. Yeah. Just out of curiosity, is the person that is requesting, the home is going to be built for, are they in attendance?
No.
They are not. Okay. Any questions from the board?
Do you, question for you. So the reason that building it under the 1,500 square feet is purely economical? Because
I'm sorry. With pricing, the way that it's been, recently, the value of a house, has gone up considerably. And it just wasn't, he was already tight at the 1301. We did, he does have his financing ready to go, and it did appraise at 310. So it appraised at the value that it needed to be for him to get his loan and everything. But it wasn't enough to raise, he didn't have enough in it to get to the 1,500 where he wanted to.
Mr. Reniger, have you seen a drawing of the home? Would you like to come up and take a look? This is what it's, the rendering of the home. And then this is some of the interior plans that they're looking at.
and how is it will be placed in relationship to mine?
That's a good question from the builder. Where will that be placed on the lot in relationship to, was it 361?
361 Park Road, yeah.
Good question.
Yeah, I
know
didn't
where-
bring that, I would need to fill out our site plan, but
That
it
was him.
falls in line with,
All the setbacks are met, side
yes.
yard?
Yeah, there's no variance needed for any of that.
Yeah, there is a site plan included in the documents. Let me find a page that has the measurement. That's going to be page 3 out of 5. On-
Oh, yeah.
on the large drawings of the home.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that.
So your house, is your house here? This is Haynes Thomas, this is, Steve, what's your name?
I'm Veronica.
Veronica, okay, so then this is your house right here. And then this is this house.
There's another lot to the south.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, they're almost 20 feet from the sideline there.
He meets all the required side yard and rear yard clearances.
It looks like it's almost 20 feet instead of.
Yeah, our minimum requirement is 10 feet.
This isn't, a lot of times we look at the percentage of the variance. This is not a real high percentage of the variance to look at. I understand your concern.
Yeah, I bet, yeah, so, yeah. No problem.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Someone like to make a motion, please?
I'll make the motion to approve case number 17 BZA.
I'll second.
Okay, Richard, would you call the roll, please?
Dave Lindros,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dale,
Yes.
Dave Nzera,
Yes.
and Chairman.
Yes. Okay, when do you want to get started on this?
Relatively soon, I'm here. We had to finish up, the loan was being held until we made sure we got the variance.
The reason I ask is normally these are not official until we approve the minutes at our
Yeah.
following meeting,
And-
30 days, but we can expedite that. We can do something here to make that happen
Yeah,
quicker if
that would
we
be
need.
helpful. Just because of, interest rates and everything, they're holding that for us for so long. So yeah, that would be helpful if you could do that as quickly as possible.
Would someone like to make a motion to journalize this decision, please?
I'll make a motion to journalize BZA case 2022-0017.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded.
Okay. Dale,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dave Nzera,
Yes.
Dave Lindros,
Yes.
and Chairman.
Yes. What that does is, you can move ahead right away then. Just check with zoning inspector. Okay? All right, Rachel, if you would read number 2022-0018 BZA.
Okay. Applicant Oscar Barron Ornelas, I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, submitted a conditional use application for property located
Thank you.
at 1370 Menor Avenue. The request is to allow outdoor storage of propane for sale.
Okay, I see no error in our zoning inspector requiring a conditional use permit for this. Is there someone here to speak in favor of the request and let us know what you would like to do?
My name's Oscar Baron Ornelas, and we're trying to set up a propane cage out in front of the business.
Okay, who would you be dealing with here?
Either, I think it's called American Gas, or the Goats in Willoughby.
Those the blue Rhino tanks that you see?
Yeah.
Small.
Well, I don't think we're doing Blue Rhino though, because they were really backed up.
Anyone else to speak in favor? Anyone to speak against? All right, because we have an ex-battalion chief firefighter on our board here, I'm gonna ask him, Dale, what kind of things do we need to look for here on a
Well-
conditional use?
First, I was just talking to Harley about who would do the inspection on this, and it'd be local fire department is our authority jurisdiction here, so they're the ones that would make a
So it'd be
decision on.
Painesville Township Fire
Painesville
Department.
Township Fire Department. But my question to you would be, have you talked to whoever's gonna do it and made sure that, because I'm assuming when they do that, that they come out and decide where they're gonna place this. There's some restrictions on site placement on certainly on fill stations, and I'm assuming as well on these trade-offs. I've never had to deal with that.
Well, I called one of the companies, American Gas, and they told me I could get permission from the township
Right.
first.
But
Then they would
I'm
come
thinking
out.
there's some setbacks, like it needs to be 10 foot from a sidewalk,
Mhm.
a certain distance, and I'm not sure, 30 inches maybe or more from a doorway or a window or
Mhm.
a vent. And the picture that you had drawn doesn't really, I don't know, you've got a picture where you're
Yeah, it's
showing
pretty bad
ice,
shape.
the ice machine and then the propane. I'm assuming there's some more of the building that's not included on that,
On the picture?
on this hand drawing, where you're showing the propane fill here, and this is the drive-through, right? Right, so that is this door, right?
Yeah.
So you've got this much more building here that, before you get to garden. I don't know that makes a difference to where your placement's gonna be, because this section here seems like the only place they could place it. But my recollection is that it's 10 foot from the sidewalk, which you're showing 10 foot to the building, which.
From the building to the sidewalk, it's 10 feet.
Right, but- Right, and I'm thinking that it needs to have that much space, but that's up to the local jurisdiction to determine. We're just passing, the variance that you're requesting is to put something out front that is not for sale, or that is for sale, but.
Back here, it's all garden.
Right, that shouldn't mean anything. It'll strictly be the distances from, well, with propane and most flammables, there's a pretty, you know, there's restrictions by NFPA on how they do things, and there's a whole book that comes out just for propane itself. And I could tell you a little bit more if it was a fill station, but you're talking about the trading stations, and I don't know, I'm guessing that there's a restriction on how many bottles they can have. The other thing, and it would be strictly on how you do business, but somebody needs to actually physically unlock it and lock it, correct? So it wouldn't be a deal where, like with ice, you say, well, just go get yourself a bag of ice and, you know, pay us at the counter. We need to have somebody physically unlock that and make sure that the tank that they're putting in there doesn't leak and doesn't have damage to it and so forth. There's some restrictions. I would also, and I'm not certain about this, but I would think that they would want to have some annual, at least a certification at the beginning to make sure that you know these things, right? So you're not, you know, so you know what the rules are. So that's the reason I was asking if you had talked to the company. Because what we're gonna be varying is the fact that you can put it there look-wise, not necessarily legal-wise. You see what I'm saying? So we could go through this whole procedure and the fire department could come in and say, you know, that's not gonna work. You're gonna have to put it around the corner or do it someplace else in order to make it satisfy their requirements.
And would they possibly require like some bollards in front, or is that,
I'm sorry, some
would
what?
they require some steel bollards in front?
You know, I don't know if there's much in the way of restrictions, because I see a lot of these trade-off ones where those, like Blue Rhino's the big one, but, you know, I gotta believe that there's a restriction to the company that's doing it on how many bottles they can deal with. How often do they, you know, you don't know the answer because you don't know who you're dealing with, but I would also think that they need to come out weekly maybe, you know, and make sure that it's not filled with empties and, you know.
So we would pretty much just, for the looks of it, but for the safety of it would be the fire department. They
I would suggest that
decide.
if we're gonna go with this variance, that we include you know, some restrictions on it, that it be approved by the fire
It is a
department.
conditional use permit, so that should be one of the conditions. That
So
the
we'll
fire
put a
department
condition
set
on
the
it.
standards and the standards. are
Right.
met.
You know, you've seen them everywhere, so I don't think there's a lot of restrictions, but I think there are restrictions on how close to a doorway and how far away from like a sidewalk. There may be restrictions on how close a operating car can be too, you know, which would take a kind of a downwind of that. But, I mean, you've got plenty of property there, you know, I mean, you could move it somewhere to make everybody happy, I think. I'm just kind of wondering myself how much research you did before you came to us, but that's not what you're asking us to vary, right? So, I think as long as we make it so that the fire department makes the final determination on location.
I think it's
and so
safe
forth.
that when we make the proposal, that the conditional use permit include, you know, it's okay with us if the fire department, if they meet what the state fire marshal and our local fire department require.
Sure. They've already got the ice machine out front, which has pretty much been, probably had to have a variance on that as well, no?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what our code requires on ice machines. But
They need to be cold.
I see a lot of those too.
Yeah.
So, at any rate, that's what the fire department, I think, would be looking at.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Did you know what size propane cage?
They have any cages in stock because they're on a shortage right now. But they told me it's going to be a 24 or maybe an 18. But I believe it was an 18.
18 deep?
No,
Yeah.
3 feet deep.
How deep?
3 feet.
3 feet?
Harley, do you have any guidance on this from the zoning standpoint?
Because it'll be 3 across and 2 back, 2 propane, so it's like it's about 3 feet back. I'm not sure how wide
the
though.
distance?
Yeah, I think that if we make a condition that our, you know, we approve it if they meet what our fire department and state fire marshal require. Is that?
I think that would be sufficient, would
And
be
the fire
my.
department would know all the NFPA
Yeah.
standards.
We went, were you around when we were doing the one down on?
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
That was a big one.
We might want to and I don't know how many, maybe he knows the answer, but we might want to restrict the number of bottles that they.
Well, he's
have
talking
sold.
about 18 or 24?
Yeah, that's what they told me, the Mary guys. But I think that one of the big goats, they only do like, I think 12 or 9. Because they have like these really like small cages.
I know Zappy's just opened one, they got about 5 cages up there in the corner.
So what would you like the amount to be?
I mean, whatever works. We would say like maybe 12, between 12 and, maybe 12 and 18, between there.
Between 12 and 18?
Yeah. Because I feel like 24 is just too much. Or even 9, that's fine too, as long as we just get it set up.
Between 9 and 18?
Yeah.
Well, I think we're just.
You're gonna need
we're
an
gonna give
empty
them a max,
bottle
we're
room
not gonna
too,
give
and they're
them a
gonna
minimum.
count its number.
No, we don't give
What was
them-
that?
Just give them a
Maximum.
max.
Both the empties and the fulls are gonna count its number, so you
Yeah, because
need
it just
to
go
know.
back in the cage.
Yeah, the cage size is what we're
Mhm.
looking at, not.
Any other questions? Would someone like to create a condition for this, or a set number of conditions?
I'll make the motion for this conditional use permit, the 2022-0018 BZA, with the 2 conditions, one being it's depending approval on the fire department requirements, and number 2, with a max of 18 tanks. And, I mean, that's really the only
Period of time.
Can we assume that the fire department
Time.
is going to be, in time, we need time. Can we assume that the fire department will tell us that the thing needs to be locked and they have to have a key and all that? Or is that something we want to add just in case?
I think it wouldn't hurt to add that as a condition, because with certain, that's where the problem lies. You know, somebody brings one in that's damaged, or somebody doesn't have, you know, they're, just because they brought it in doesn't mean it's totally empty either, so if you have a slow leak in there, you could have a problem. And I gotta believe that's the way it's done. I don't know.
And if it's repetitious, okay with the fire?
Right, it wouldn't hurt anything to have that included.
If you want to add
All right.
time and the proprietor have a key and cage remain locked.
So, condition number 3, being an employee would have to have a key. They have to open up the lock to be able to get the propane tanks out and put the empty propane tank in. And the 4th condition being with a time of 5 years, which is the max amount.
Okay, so,
Mr. Chairman, I'm
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt. One thing, I was just reading about the propane tanks and the bollards. So they're no longer required. They're no longer a requirement, but in the test study that they did to determine whether or not it would be required is that they found that the cylinder exchange cabinets could withstand an impact of 10 miles an hour, and while it would damage the propane tanks, it wasn't enough force to rupture a 20-pound propane gas cylinder. But it doesn't mention what mile per hour would need to be achieved in order to rupture a canister within one of those cabinets. Which, upon reading that, my concern would be on Minner Avenue with the accelerated speeds. Is it a potential risk to the general public without the bollards?
might want to include that too. If the fire department comes out and says they need them, again, we've covered it. If they don't require them.
So depending on the fire department, or,
I would say add it, and if the fire department says they need them, we're already covered.
okay.
That's if it's located on Menor Avenue. They may say they want it around the corner.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, you would be getting them, most of your people are driving through, so you would be procuring it yourself and bringing it around, so the location's not as critical, my guess.
You have a lot of room on the side where the cars come in and loop in, don't you, if they require it there?
On the side, the pushing cart, and we'll have to take all the dirt out and throw it on after we're done. And even the other side of the wall, pushing cart, there's still in the back, but it's all in the back, we wouldn't want to carry it all the way back there and come back all the way back.
I'm just saying, if the fire department says it's a no-go on Route 20, you know, with your setback, we're saying, if they say it's okay, we're saying you may have to have the bollards there to, so if a car comes in and hits going more than 10 mile an hour, you know, they'll be protected.
Yeah, because that could that could be a potential risk to your health and safety as well. If they're able to run off the road, hit that, then your workers, your building could potentially be seriously damaged if a bollard isn't in place to stop a car from hitting your propane tanks, just based on reading this. So if you wish, Mr. Chairman, I can discuss it with our fire chief and fire inspector and see if their recommendation would be that a bollard is in place.
Okay. Then that covers us with their recommendations.
Yes, I believe the board could place a condition that should the fire chief and/or fire inspector recommend bollards, if it is to be placed in the front adjacent to Menor Avenue, that be a requirement, if it's a recommendation.
Okay, so condition number 5, if it's recommended by the fire department to put in bollards according to their, whatever their placement is and distance off the road and distance off the actual cage, then that would have to be installed per the requirements from the fire department.
Okay, anything else?
Just one clarification question. So the one condition is our fire department would have to sign off on the location of where, in this case, up to 18 could be stored. Does that also infer that the fire department would approve that 18 would be okay at the location?
Well, if we're giving them the approval to up to 18, but if the fire department says 12 or 10, then that's gonna have to be what it is.
Okay.
We may be getting a little repetitious here, and it's just by saying, let our fire department
Yeah.
set the standard for it, and they have to agree to, they have to abide by that.
I would say that that's the case anyway. Even
Yeah.
if we pass this, it's only passing it, like I said, the variance is for the looks of it and not
Right.
for the safety of it, which is going to be there.
Yeah, we may just
They could
simplify it
pull
by us saying,
Just
Let's
take the
just have-
bollards out of there and just whatever the
let's
fire
just have,
department.
whatever our fire department and the state fire marshal requires, that's what they have to meet.
Okay, so we'll go back to the,
But they, you know,
No.
they don't, if the fire department says, I don't care how many tanks they put, we can say a maximum of 18.
okay, so we have a max of 18. Go back to number 1, it's depending approval of the fire department and whatever requirements that they set forth.
Yeah. And Harley will talk to them, say some of our concerns are the location, the bollards, and those types of things.
Yes,
I mean,
Mr. Chairman.
consider all those. And you still need the thing with the key, the employee.
Right, which is.
Rachel, have we completely confused you now?
A little bit, a little bit. Okay, so depending approval of fire department and whatever requirements they set forth, 18 tanks max. Okay, employee, the key, employee must have.
We want it locked at all times, and the only time they can get a bottle in or out is an employee goes and opens it and puts an empty in, takes a full out.
So employee, have a key.
Case must remain locked,
Case must be-
and the employee is the only one that is able to open the tank.
And then 5-year term.
Right.
Okay.
You want to read the whole thing back?
Depending approval of fire department and whatever requirements they set forth, 18 tanks max, And then the case the case must remain locked, and an employee to have a key to open, and then a 5-year term.
Okay. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, motion's been made. Does someone want to second it?
A second?
Okay, Ken,
Yes.
Dave Lindros,
Yes.
Dale,
Yes.
Dave Enzera.
Yes.
And Chairman.
Yes. Okay. So I would say for your, if we can ask our fire department to take a look as quickly as they can, because this is something you probably want to do get going for the rest of the summer and the fall. Okay? And I don't know, do we want to journalize this?
Gonna say if that's the case.
Yeah. Let's make a motion to journalize this decision so the fire department can get out there in the next week or so.
I'll make a motion. Journalize 2022-0018.
Second?
Okay, Dale,
Yes.
Dave Enzera,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dave Lindros,
Yes.
and Chairman.
Yes. So applicants, do you understand everything that we just did? Just want to make sure you're clear on it, okay? Place some conditions. We're depending on our fire department to make sure all the requirements are met that meet state code. And it's been journalized, so as soon as they say go, you can go. You just check with the zoning inspector for the paperwork. Okay? All right. With that, we will close the public hearing and open our regular meeting. The minutes have been submitted.
Can I
Are there-
address the cruise?
Pardon?
Can I address, I'm the homeowner on a variance.
You need to be sworn first. I don't know, but that's already been decided. Can we let him speak?
I'm the homeowner and I have.
Oh,
I have
okay.
to say on it, or the potential homeowner of the property.
Borer?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, let our legal counsel swear you.
That was one that was already approved
Yeah.
Yes.
today. Okay, you still want to speak on it? It was
Yeah, I
already
do,
approved.
yes.
Okay. All right, I need you to stand and raise your right hand. You swear everything you testify today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, if you state your name and,
My name is Franklin Bohr, the potential homeowner of the Park Road property. I believe that the business part has been swindled on me. The appraisal, which I can provide to you all, has been misdone. The builder didn't send the specs or the prints that you all saw, or may have saw. I wasn't even shown them. They sent the builder, or the mortgage lender, just the basic, what they give everyone as a sales pitch, and it included a patio, which doesn't exist, that was appraised. So they got the appraisal to be over what my loan asking was, just barely. But if you take out the patio and you take out the $31,000 that they approved for the land, the house is only a $235,000 house, with about $25,000 built in as additional costs for unseen conditions of gas price rise. So the home value itself is literally underwater. And I've been trying to work with them to tell them that I'd rather boost it up to the 1,500 because then it would be viable for the neighborhood. I do believe if I get into this mortgage based on the false appraisal, because they gave them the wrong prints, not the actual specs of what the house is gonna be, that I'm gonna be underwater on this house because it's not valued, it's not gonna appraise for the value of the loan. And my neighbor is absolutely right, because this house is just a model home.
I wish you would have been here when this was going on.
I wanted to be, I had to drop my daughter at baseball, and they know I have my daughter at Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
So are you at odds with the builder?
No, not at all. I love George, I love Pro-Built, it's the sales. It's 100% the sales. They built hundreds of homes in Painesville Township. They didn't know this was R1 zoning. They sold me a 1,300 square foot knowing we would go through this process, in my opinion.
So you're wanting to?
I would respectfully ask to deny the variance, to let me work with my builder to make it a 1,500 valuable house within the price range. And if we can't work on that, then I'm just buying the
Well,
land.
you could still have that 1,200, and if you up it, because we approved the 1,200, if you up it to 15, then
It's-
you're within the limit.
Exactly, I'm wishing to work with my builder.
The variance only allows you to do 1,300, doesn't require you to do So you can still do a 1,500, so whatever, them approving the variance doesn't stop you from doing any of the other things. It just allows you to build.
Absolutely, but what they're doing is they're taking this and moving forward. They just told me they're digging next week. And I told them, I haven't even picked out anything for this house, knowing that the appraisal, and I had talked to them, my mortgage guy, the appraisal's absolutely wrong. I can show you the appraisal. They sent just like all the options you can pick for the house. They didn't send the options that I did pick. They put the patio in there, and I don't even have a patio. So the loan, it was forced to meet what the house was gonna cost. And I've been trying to tell them this, but they give me the sideways, it's the sales. And they're just trying to keep me on.
You're the one ultimately going to be paying the bill, right?
Absolutely, and I'm paid, I know it's gonna be an undervalued house, and I know I'm gonna go under. And I'm a 100% disabled veteran, I have a set amount of money every month. And I knew what I was getting into at 300, but I knew if I got in trouble, I can sell it. But they misappraised this. When I get it really appraised to go to sell it, it'd be a 265 house, any day of the week. Because when I first started with them, the basic house, just the slab and everything was 195, the property was 25. Now it's 300. My neighbor's absolutely right.
So if you do up it to the 1,500 with everything that you want to do to the house.
It would
then
make it a sellable house in the neighborhood, absolutely.
Well, you can do that.
Yeah, you
Well-
can do that regardless.
But they're moving forward with what this is based on that. I would like for a denial of the
They
variance.
can't move forward without you approving.
Absolutely, I haven't signed anything, you're
Yeah,
absolutely
so
right.
The variance is not gonna affect anything. The variance only gives you the option to do 1,300 or 1,200.
But it also stops them right in the track, and it makes me contractual, not in default. Because my neighbor's absolutely right. I've been trying to tell the builder that the mortgage people got the specs. You sent them it's a 3-bedroom. They even sent them the 2-bedroom option. They sent them the bedroom with the cove and the bedroom with the patio. They didn't send them my house. So my house, the appraisal I got that they're working on isn't a real appraisal. I would like to have this process to keep working with them. I don't want to give up on this land. I'm either going to buy the land tomorrow outright and then work on the building aspect some other way.
Well, you would still have to sign all the paperwork, right? You haven't signed that. yet.
No, I haven't signed, other than just the contracts to get into the building, or to get into the mortgage
Can
part.
I ask a question to legal counsel? And I remember this from years ago. Can I ask to reconsider my vote? Tom, we went through this once before.
I think so.
And I wasn't present, and I didn't ask them to represent me.
Really?
No. No, they did all that work. I knew they were doing the picture and stuff. They never sent me what the updraft was. I told them I wanted in writing, I'm not buying anything for the house until this is a viable project. They didn't want to give that to me.
I mean, should this just be scrapped?
What would you like to
Because
see
it
this
doesn't-
board do?
I would like the denial of this variance. Based on that the appraisal is wrong. And I can prove that to you guys. I can send you the appraisal.
That's actually not
Is-
relevant to.
Or just deny it because of the homeowner. To be honest with you, I was actually ambushed into it. They asked me, you have to sign this paper for the variance by Monday. Okay, I came in on a Monday, and all of a sudden, I'm with their whole team, with my daughter. I got bamboozled
Do you
into
own-
signing it. I didn't want to sign it right then and there.
Sir, do you actually own that parcel of land?
No, it's part of the new construction, but I also can just get a loan and buy it outright.
Because the applicant was the home builder.
Right.
But they wrote on there, they just said pro-build. They said that's the reason you guys talked to them. Because they said whatever they just flashed to me. I'm telling you, I don't like this. I don't feel like I'm in a comfortable situation that's going to be undervalued.
The applicant is pro-build. Not this.
Well, let me ask you this. If
So-
this guy, if Mr. Bohr completely bails on this, can ProBuild go to another buyer and say, hey, we've already got a variance to build a smaller home on this property? I don't want to see that happen.
They could.
The owner's a wonderful man. I'm telling you, this is the sales team. It's not pro-build itself. It's literally probably just two
Have
people.
you spoken with them?
Yeah, well,
There's
ProBuild
just two
got
people that
variance.
were present here with
They've got
the
a
lady
approval
who's
to
a
build
project.
this size home on that piece of property.
Harley, the applicant was just pro-build, right?
Yeah,
Pro-build.
I can reach out to George Davis tomorrow.
If I knew this was an R1, if they would have told, none of the R1 came up front at all. If I knew it was R1, I wouldn't have gotten into a contract, knowing that 1,500 is the minimum. I felt like I got into a contract to be stuck, and then they knew we were gonna go through this process. I tried to make it here, to be on time, to say this in front of them. I'm not afraid to say it.
Well, you know, the thing that upsets me is ProBuild came in here and they said the reason that we want this is because our potential buyer cannot afford the 1,500 square foot. So I
It's
feel like he's
almost a lie.
playing both sides of
It's-
you.
It's absolutely a lie, because I am sure if we work around, this house is the basic model. If I went from a custom, there's many ways I can go, that's why I don't want to lose this land. It's perfect for my daughter and her school, she goes to Painesville Township Schools.
Getting back to Mr. Sullivan's, is there a process where we can change our vote if we see fit?
Why don't we do this?
It's already been journalized, too.
Right.
Aren't you glad you
The
stayed?
hearing- the hearing-
I am.
Yeah, it would have been on here. So we haven't closed the hearing yet, haven't closed the public hearing.
Well-
So
We did.
we journalized it.
We were in the process of closing.
We were
We
in
hadn't
the
closed.
process of opening, of closing, and then he has to speak.
Yeah,
Yes,
you
we did.
broke in before the hearing got closed.
Right.
So the hearing actually hasn't been closed yet. Obviously, our biggest problem here would be ProBuild filing some sort of appeal.
Can we continue it?
That's what I was gonna suggest.
I would be okay with it continue.
Yeah, I have a good working relationship with George Davis, and so I can reach out to him and explain the situation, and honestly, I can talk to George Davis tomorrow, and.
And I would like it on the record, it is not George Davis.
No,
He's a
but be-
wonderfeen man.
But
That's what-
because
yeah,
he
that's-
owns ProBuilt, he's the best
Absolutely, I
person to
know, he's
discuss it
person on the
with.
name.
I've been working with George on the Keysmith thing, so,
Mm-hmm.
I'll just reach out to him, explain the situation, and ask him to come in here and, hold the request, hold the application as the owner of ProBuilt.
Is that
Because-
something that can be done?
You know, regardless of your situation, you may want to build a smaller house, in which case this variance will allow them to do it. You just need to get them to do it cheaper, that's all.
It's not really the cheaper fact. I didn't like the fact of sending my mortgage lender all options that are not even the ones I have, that are literally can make a appraisal go up, like a patio, covered patio. It wasn't even in my quote.
Yeah, and technically, any of the value of the house, any of that stuff is not.
But I'm saying my argument of my neighbor is absolutely right. It is under, it will bring down the value because I know I'll go under. I'm just letting you guys know that it's gonna happen. Because I thought I was building for 265 when I signed. Now it's 300. So,
For the 1,300?
for the 1,300, everything with the land and the build, or the contract, was 265,000 and some change. Now it's 300. It's not gonna fit in the market that regulates 4 years from now. It will be a neighborhood destroyer at this price, because I will go under.
So, how do we
And
do
I
this?
tried telling them this.
Well, we haven't closed the hearing, so until they're closed, obviously we do 2 hearings in a row, close it at the end of the vote as opposed to closing. Because had we closed that hearing on its own and then moved on to the next one, I'd say there really isn't anything this month. We haven't actually closed the hearing, almost closed it.
We almost did. We had.
Well,
you
we
know,
already
I
journalized.
Had a motion to close the hearing, and then Mr. Boer spoke up.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we, and you're gonna reach out to George Davis tomorrow, Harley?
Yeah,
Why don't we, this isn't necessarily the best way to do this, but why don't we just do a motion to rescind the journalization, but not the approval?
That way we have the 30 days.
Then we have 30 days, give Harley a chance to
I like that.
reach out to George Davis. I think we can get it figured out. It doesn't, because again, all this board is doing is deciding whether or not you can pretty slightly violate the code by going from 1,500 square feet to 30. The value, the drawings, the mortgage company, none of that has any relevance to this.
I'm just stating with my neighbor, he's
So
absolutely
yeah, that's
right.
a good reason, and had you been here 20 minutes ago,
Oh, I was trying.
would have mattered a little.
Don't want to
bit.
break laws.
But otherwise, because this is not a very uncommon variance, and it doesn't require you to build a 1,300 square foot home. So the 1,500 square foot home, if you want to, we can't force you to build a 1,300 square foot home. I guess probably the issue here would be they could now get a different buyer to build a 1,300
For the same
square foot
property, right.
home. But again, because they are the applicant, technically they're right to do that. So technically all we're doing is kicking the can down the road a little bit by rescinding the journalization. I wouldn't be thrilled about arguing that in that field of town.
And I didn't know until
But-
tonight that they were the applicant.
but
They always told me I
because-
was.
Because of the relationship that we have, I think, give it an extra month, we can square this away with them. So I would just rescind the journalization. We have 30 days. And Harley then called George Davis tomorrow, let him know we rescinded the journalization. We did approve it. Technically, we'll go through in 30 days. If you have an issue with the buyer, see if George can talk to him and get it.
Yeah,
fixed in those
and-
30 days. Because I don't want to rescind the approval of it because it's false on all, dumping person, all that kind of stuff. It's perfectly reasonable for you guys to have done it, but I'd like to get rid of the journalization so that we can have a chance to talk to George.
Yeah, and if George, well, when it goes through in 30 days, if it goes to a different buyer, I feel really confident that George will hold true to any new buyer. It'll have to be a 1,500 square foot home. George is really, he's really easy to work with, so.
I just wish I knew it was R1 zoning. I would have tried to make it 1,500 up front.
And it's not uncommon for builders to be the ones that do all the work on it.
Did ProBuild fill out this actual application?
Yes, they did.
And they wrote this statement? Due to the rise in material costs, this is the house size he can afford, financial hardship.
Yes.
Did you know he wrote that?
I have a 5-figure savings account. I actually don't have financial hardship. I could buy that property cash tomorrow. I'm telling you, they did everything to get this approved, to keep it on the books. And I don't like that feeling.
I don't like it either.
Wait, so
Can
does that
I
mean?
ask
And
him
it's
if-
not
Can I ask
George.
him
It's not
explicitly
George.
why, and he reiterated
His
that,
name's on
was
the bottom of
because
the
he couldn't afford it.
No, that's.
It's not true. They know I have a bank account.
Because there needs to be a
he signed
hardship.
it. Oh, he signed it?
I gave him $14,000 in
All right,
cash.
so your recommendation is to rescind the journalization. Let's work this out in the next month. Okay.
All right, I respect that.
Someone
Thank you,
like to make a
gentlemen.
motion to rescind the journalization?
I'll make a motion to rescind the journalization of 2022-0017.
Second.
Okay, Ken?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes.
Dave Lindros,
Yes.
Dale,
Yes.
Dave and Zara,
Yes.
and Chairman.
Yes. It's important, Rachel, that this is, to note that this still happened during the public hearing.
Before we close,
The public hearing was not closed. And in light of a new, a new witness,
New testimony. from
new
the
testimony.
Rebecca Hot Homes buyer.
So would I like put this after everything, but before in the meeting minutes, since,
I would
or would I put it with the case?
I would still put it with the case,
Okay.
put the time,
Okay,
put the time, put that it was testimony given after the case was heard, but prior to the closing of the public hearing.
Okay, understand we did?
Yes, I do.
Now we have 30 days to see if we can work this thing.
Yes, and I respect that 100%. Thank you, gentlemen. Good luck for your time.
Good luck.
I couldn't imagine what you were going to say afterwards, and you surprised me.
Me too.
I mean, they kind of sold us this under false pretenses.
Yeah. that
So, I mean,
bugs me.
how is that,
Pardon?
I mean, it's,
That would be subject to an appeal.
Yeah, so,
because, I mean, how bad would that suck if he's like, they went above and beyond that 300, and then they just sold it to someone else when this is a place he really wanted?
Well, let's see what what happens with George Davis.
yeah,
Call me-
he's a
call-
really good guy.
Yes, call me after you talk to George.
Okay.
I'm sure he would not like to know that happened. And
Yeah, I know.
although a lot of that wasn't relevant, Rachel, I hope we got some of a lot of what he said,
It's on
about
tape.
not having financial
Yeah.
hardship and all that stuff. Both record of it.
we've got
It's all on tape.
everything's recording right
So-
now.
Yeah.
So make sure a lot of that gets in there. It's technically not relevant to a normal variance decision that they would make,
Okay.
but it becomes relevant if there's an appeal it's based on all three sentences of.
All right.
You can save the recording.
Yes, yeah, we save those recordings on the computer, and then the live stream is saved there forever, so anybody could watch it.
Okay, just in case.
Yeah, I just assumed he was gonna be coming to talk.
I thought he was gonna
Favor.
thank you
I
guys.
thought I was gonna say thank you.
Right.
Why do you even talk? You won.
No, you got it.
Well, Tom, there's always a first.
This is the first time in 35 years I've ever seen this.
Yeah, I'm disappointed that he didn't call the office.
Precedent.
I mean, after signing the variance application.
Well, I hope this isn't something that's gonna, well, I'll leave it up to you to talk to him.
Yeah, and I wish you would have maybe called here and said, yeah, I'm gonna be a little bit late. You know,
Yeah, that bugs me
that one back.
that they
Yeah.
pulled this, really does.
That was weird.
Okay, so now, we have a motion to close the public hearing.
You sure? Should we go check outside?
Yeah, is anyone else coming in?
I might rescind the motion to close.
I might consider changing my vote.
There we go.
All right, so
Had we
let,
closed the hearings, I would have been even less comfortable doing.
yeah, so let's go ahead and formally close the meeting with a motion. Public hearing,
I'll make a motion to close the meeting.
I'll second.
okay. Okay, Rachel,
Okay, sorry. We don't usually do motions to close the public.
we're doing it today.
Okay. Okay, so 1 second, okay.
Just for the record.
Yeah.
Ooh, my handwriting.
We're gonna do it in the future.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, so Ken motioned to close the public hearing, and Dave and Zara
I second.
Second it.
seconded, okay.
And I would note the time.
To close it, okay, 7.
Yeah, this might be one of the first ones where please have good times. on each of those
Chronological order of
things.
things.
Okay, Dave and Zara.
Yes.
Dave Lindros,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dale,
Yes.
and Chairman.
Yes. Okay, now we'll move on and we'll open the regular meeting. I think everyone's had a chance to look at the minutes. Does anyone have any changes or questions on the minutes as submitted?
Nope.
So,
Okay, then I would recommend that they be put into the record as submitted. We don't need to vote on that, do we? We never used to? All right, old business. Case 2022-004 BZA, this is just still hanging in there until after the summertime? Is that what we've
Yes,
agreed
until
upon?
September
Okay,
was when it was continued till.
all right. Under new business, renewal of a conditional use permit. Rachel, you want to read that for us? 2022-0020-BZA, it's a renewal of a conditional use permit from '06, or, yeah, '06.
Applicant SRK Fairgrounds Associates LLC submitted an application for a conditional use permit renewal for property located at 1251 Menor Avenue. The request is to renew an existing conditional use permit for the Get-Go fuel station. No changes to imposed conditions requested.
Refresh our memory here, Harley, is that for their outdoor storage and everything?
Yeah.
At Get-Go?
Yeah,
And there's
the-
been no issues with anything there?
No.
All right, would someone like to make a motion to, would we do another 5 years?
Yes.
Someone like to make a motion to continue that, let them go for another 5 years?
I'll make the motion to approve 2022-0020 for another 5 years at the Get-Go station.
I'll second.
Did you get Dave and Sarah seconded?
Okay, Dave Lindros,
Yes.
Dale,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dave and Zara,
Yes.
and Chairman.
Yes. Okay. All right, so that finishes that, so if there's nothing else, I recommend we adjourn this meeting. August is the next meeting. I'll be here.
Holy macaroni.
That's
Coming
three in a row,
regular
man.
thing. New habit.
Yeah, wait till September.
Are we adjourned, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, we are. And so, does